Me, you too.
I don't know what just happened.
Well, welcome to Married with Boxing. I guess we have no men here except one that's skulking in the background.
No, he's going now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ron,
Yeah.
and somebody else there. I can't figure out who that is. Anyway, this is so amazing. First of all, I have the most amazing women here with me. I was so excited about this, I couldn't eat today. So I'm asking you to all to come back to my house every single day until this is lifted, because I feel really, really great. So 4 women of wonder connected by boxing, but not in the usual manner. Each of these women married to powerful personalities in our sport who have carved out or continue to carve out their own fascinating journeys, each of them unique, accomplished, formidable, in their own rights, and each one connected to a charitable cause that we want to speak about. But first, we're going to go to 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗡𝗗, who starts off each program by giving us some words of wisdoms and a way to relax. So please take it, 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗡𝗗.
Yeah, thank you, Jill. Well, I'm so excited to be in this girls panel. I can't wait until listen to their stories and everything. Today is our 25th talk. In this, we cannot forget how the time is flying. It's very, very fast how it's going. But it's not time, it's not a good time to let our guard down. And because of that today, we are going to learn how to generate our own personal mantra. And that will help us overcome uncertainty. Is good, Jill?
Yeah.
Jill, yeah, Jill helped me to pronounce it well. So I trained before that. But it's going to help us if we do that, a positive phrase. With the small exercise I'm going to share with you today, we are learn to learn that, and the idea is to continue creating strategies for our mental health and strength. So let's imagine that we depend on a motivational road, okay? And that we are that road. And at each of its ends are our dreams. And it's our dreams that sustain and motivate us in a moment of crisis. The world is in crisis right now. So in what way it is important that we maintain a good mental health? It is very, very important, and it's to be able to identify how can we take advantage during this quarantine. So please ask yourself the following question. How can I become a better person by the end of this quarantine? Well, the first thing you need to do is to select the thought that will guide you through this quarantine. Yes. Once you have selected, then you have to choose in which area you want to improve and what you want to achieve during this time and what are your goals. Once you are clear about what you want, then you can start writing your own personal mantra. And you can start writing your mantra by saying, then you say your name, I want to become, then you list your dreams, and I do so because I'm a strong, good person, beautiful, loving, good citizen, whatever you want to say, okay? Now, after you have written your personal mantra, then it's good if you read it very, very slow and analyze how you feel with those words. Then you are going to rewrite the same phrase, but you are going to replace the I want word for the I can word, okay? Then you read it again, very slowly, and then you see how you feel. Finally, you are going to write the same word, the same mantra again, but you are going to replace the I can word for the I choose word. With these 3 steps, you will have your own personal mantra. It is very positive to do it. It gives you hope. You choose your dream, or you choose to dream, to be positive about the future, and it takes away uncertainty. And you can decide who you want to be tomorrow. And girls, I want to share with you Jill's personal mantra that she shared with me last Sunday. She says, I am strong, I am beautiful, I'm commitment to life, or my commitment to life is unbreakable. I love her mantra. I'm in the process of writing mine. So I think it's wonderful. We have to put the power of do this. I can wait until listen to you girls, and let's enjoy everybody this panel. Thank you, Jill, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
what we should do is introduce our panel. I'm going to start with Violet, Lioness Violet. I love that because we messed up the name of your foundation, so you go first. I'm sorry about that. It is
That's okay.
Champions. So Violet, born in Jamaica, raised in New York and everywhere else, college, career, beauty pageant winner, wife, mother, philanthropist, married to Lennox Lewis, one of the most recognizable champions of our times, and now a commentator. And together, Violet and Lennox have focused on creating camps and gyms for the League of Champions to give deserving young people a chance not only to be champions in sports, but to live a championship-like life. And we'll
Exactly.
Telly,
Can you guys hear? I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you all buffering, or is it just on my end? It's my end.
sounding buffering. Is it me?
I don't know. I can hear it too.
You can hear.
Okay. I'm going to change my location because right now you're fine, but everybody's coming in and out. Right now it's fine, so I'll stay where I am.
Maybe maybe they can also check the algorithms that are coming in. It could be a technical problem.
Yes. Okay, we'll do that.
Okay. Telly. Hello, Telly.
Hi. Sorry, I couldn't hear you guys the first time around.
But you got your wallpaper up. I want to bring Telly to my house because I know during this time. Anyway, Telly Swift, wife and partner of heavyweight Deontay Wilder, a man who has brought voice to many, many underserved people, especially children. Telly is a celebrity in her own right. She's a model, an actress, an advocate, a fashionista. She's the face of Boxing Wags, who recently decided to create protective masks for those in service, and that could not be timelier. Telly sort of stepped into the ring with Deontay because Deontay is still fighting. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, Telly. Shayna Otta, married to Daniel Otta and co-owner of Three Lions Promotion in Canada. A corporate event planner, a business owner, a pharmaceutical rep, a mother, wife, and a WBC ambassador. Welcome, Shayna. And Chris Mansour, my friend and partner in cares, married to WBC president Mauricio Suleiman, but a woman of strength and determination and complete independence. She leads the arm of WBC Cares in Mexico, and she's an advocate for women in sports and was the co-host of the last WBC convention. So welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
This is such a crazy time. I have so many questions that I want to ask. Firstly, is everyone hearing a little better now? Or it's still sounding buffered?
Sounds good on my end.
I'm fine.
Mine too.
Okay, good. Sounds fine to me. So this is an opportunity to bring all these amazing women together, bright, focused, compassionate. There's so many questions that I have about you and your wonderful organizations, but these are such unusual times. And I want to leap right into some obvious things about home and family. Your living spaces may be more gracious than some or not, but your worlds have definitely changed drastically and perhaps some advice you have or a feeling of how you're living now will be supportive or hopeful to other people. But first I have to start with one question. Boxing. Boxing, is it an acquired taste, or is it something that you enjoyed when you met your partner, or did you love boxing before? And I'll go first. I did not like boxing. My father-in-law was a very big boxer. My husband dragged me to boxing matches, but it wasn't until my husband passed and I started boxing for like depression that I started to love boxing. But up until then, didn't like it at all. So Chris, tell me about your relationship with the sport we're in.
Well, I had never seen a fight before in my life. Since I met Mauricio, everything has changed. Every weekend there's boxing, and I like it. It is an acquired taste, but I don't think I like it. Now I love it. But the part I like the best is the chance that I've had to meet the fighters, the boxers, and find out how beautiful people they all are. Whenever we go to the visits, the WBC Cares visits, and I see them, how they treat the children and how they treat the sick people. I mean, I can't feel but impressed about them. They have these big hearts and they're so nice people. And that's the part of boxing I like the most. Absolutely. I mean, I like the fights, but that's the part I like the best.
Violet, how do you feel about the sport? Violet, can you hear me?
I'm not hearing anything of this sort.
Did you hit your microphone? Violet,
it's just buffering, but I also think I have a full household and the children are still at school, right? All using Wi-Fi. How do you know? I grew up in Jamaica, so remember.
Say again.
Hello. What again?
The picture for some reason with Violet is freezing and coming back. Maybe they have to check that.
Hello?
Let me speak slowly. Violet, can you hear me?
Okay, I'm here now. I'm here. Yes, I can.
Okay, so my question was, is boxing for you an acquired sport, or did you love it before you met Len?
Well, I wouldn't say I loved it before I met Lennox. I was aware of it. And my first awareness is being in Jamaica when Tyson beat the Jamaican Trevor Berbick to win and become the youngest fighter, heavyweight fighter. So at a very early age, I was very aware of it. When I was in university now, we used to have these fight parties, and that's how I was introduced to Lennox. We were having a fight party when I was an undergraduate at St. John's University. And I will remember saying this, and my friends always remind me, I said, "Oh, he is cute for a boxer." That was my introduction. And ever since I met him, it's been boxing 24/7. So now I've grown to love the art of boxing and the sport behind the boxing. People think sometimes that boxers aren't athletes, but they're the consummate athletes because they have to be ready 24/7. So learning the nuances has been quite interesting.
Does Lennox still stay in shape?
He does, and he does with our son. And it's quite interesting to watch, actually, the two of them, because Lennox takes on more of the lion king role, and he loves to tell him what to do and just sits there and just watches. So he says Landon is working out and he's just observing. So that's how he keeps in shape, he says nowadays, by not actually not doing the work himself, having his son do the work.
Oh, you're an avatar.
Yes.
Kelly, what about you? What was your relationship with boxing?
Mine was pretty much like Violet's. I was aware of it being that my mom is Filipino. So I knew of Manny Pacquiao and Floyd, but I didn't know of the heavyweight because the heavyweight era was kind of died down when Deontay came in. And ever since I met him, it has been boxing day in and day out, whether it's YouTube videos when fights aren't on, fights in the past, you know, just studying boxing. And I kind of was not in love with the sport initially, but now all I watch is boxing. I don't even know when like the Super Bowl is on or All-Star Weekend is on anymore. I used to be really into basketball because I played in high school, but now it's just all boxing.
You don't grab the remote control and put it onto basketball?
You know what? I don't. I kind of let him handle the remote. He's definitely the king of the house for sure.
Boxing is the family business for now, so I guess it takes precedence. And you, Dana. Shayna. Room for life now.
I would have to say I'm pretty much the same. So can you guys hear me okay? Yes?
Yes.
So I grew up in your typical Canadian household, lots of hockey, lots of football. I have to say I was definitely aware of boxing. Growing up, you know, that's when like Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson were the big names fighting. So whenever there was a big fight on, obviously we would tune in, but it definitely wasn't a part of our everyday life growing up. And then I met my husband actually in high school, and his family's from Sheffield, England. So they're very big boxing fans. But I'd have to say, once Dan started his promotion company and I went to my first live boxing event in 2016, I remember that first impact of the glove to the face, and it almost turned my stomach. Like it made me feel a little bit nauseous watching it. Now I'm completely opposite. I don't like to sit anywhere but right against the ropes, ringside. I've definitely found a love for the sport. Absolutely. And like Christiane said, I love the people that I've got to meet through the boxing world. And I've loved watching the journey of a fighter and what they go through to get to that point in the ring. And I know here in Ontario, Canada, it's the only place where we do same day weigh-ins. So I see it's really hard on the boxers, and a lot of different organizations have said that they think that it is very unsafe what they do in Ontario because they do the same day weigh-in. So I do like to see that journey that the boxer goes on, and kind of the cutting the weight, and you know, seeing their faces the Friday night at the weigh-ins and they're like starving, and then just seeing them that next day in the ring, and you know, going to work, and obviously seeing their hand be held up at the end.
I want to ask you then a question, Telly, because Dana promotes boxing. Chris is married to someone who is involved in boxing. Violet really started working closely with Lennox after his career was changing, but you are right there. Deontay is back in the ring. How does it feel to see Deontay in the ring? Do you go to the fights? What is that like for you?
Initially, when I went to my first fight, I was nervous. I was anxious. I just wanted it to be over with. And till this day, I still tell him, get in there and get out of there as soon and as quick as you can, because no one wants to see anyone get hurt, whether it's their spouse, whether it's the opponent that they're facing. It's just a hurt business, and it's unfortunate, but it's still hard to watch, especially with someone that you care for and you love. That's why I kind of wanted to start an association and, you know, be a support system for the women of boxers and boxers in general, so they can pretty much have a voice. I feel like a lot of the women in boxing don't have a voice. They're kind of just in the background, but we're there 24/7 with them during camps, with them while they have to eat properly, with them during fight week, which I call their PMS moments. So it's a lot to withstand as a spouse. And I feel like a lot of outsiders looking in don't understand that aspect of it and think that, you know, a lot of the time we're just there, or we're not a part, but a lot of us women are a big part of the boxers' careers.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people see it as a glamorous position to be in, as opposed to really what the day-to-day what the day-to-day takes in terms of support and in terms of just having to close your eyes to a lot of things when you see somebody working their body that way. But I want to get back to this other thing, which is many of us have lived our lives being separated from our families. Either our husbands travel or we travel, we have careers and this and that. Now we're facing the opposite situation where there is time. We're pressed together in a home. You're losing your natural sense of privacy. Maybe you're gaining other things in the process. So, I mean, that is, besides the natural anxiety we're all going through with this terrible circumstances we're in, how do you deal with this when you've lived a life which is a lot of hellos and goodbye, hello and goodbye? So, Chris, you're used to that suitcase goes out the door all the time. You have how many people in your house now? 6, 7?
7.
And how is that going for you?
See, Jill, before this all happened, I used to get very emotional about the empty nest thing going very fast in this house, because we have 3 children, and the oldest, he has been in boarding school in Boston for 4 years now. Well, now he is here, but he used to be. So I was feeling a little lonely by then, because I only had my daughter and the youngest here, and Mauricio was always traveling. So this was an empty house all by itself. It was only me and them. I was sad. I think I was more sad before than I am now. Now, this is a crazy house. You have to keep cooking all of the time. They want to eat all of the time. They won't skip a meal or lunch or dinner or anything. My day is spent at the kitchen most of the time.
Me too.
Me too.
I know all of us. But I believe this pandemic, either it makes us grow as people or we're gonna be lost forever. So I try to think that this is gonna bring us much better memories than bad ones. Nothing is in order anymore at the house. Everything's a mess. And I'm a very organized people. I'm an OCD person as well. So it was difficult at the beginning, but now I'm kind of enjoying it a lot. Having everyone here for lunch, for dinner. I'm playing games in the afternoon. My daughter is helping me in the kitchen. I don't think that will ever happen again, or it would have happened before. Never. So I'm happy. I'm okay.
Telly, you have a different way of dealing with it, right?
So 𝗧𝗏𝗏 has taken this time to do projects, and it's literally like a lot of projects at one time. So we have a home in LA that we're doing the backyard on. Right now it's dirt, so we're working with the HOA, which is a hassle within itself. We have the penthouse that's doing interior decorating for the interior of that in Atlanta. And then the home in Alabama, we're building an addition to the home, and it's 8 acres. So it's a lot of building that has to be constructed. So every day we wake up and we hear banging. And recently he's tried to wallpaper the entire downstairs himself. So we've done 16 rolls, double rolls. I had no idea how to even put wallpaper up, but now I know, watching him. I had all the kids. We have 8 in total. And so I'm sorry?
You and 𝗧𝗏𝗏 are doing the wallpapering yourself?
𝗧𝗏𝗏 and his mom's doing the wallpaper, and I'm upstairs with the kids cooking. So, I've went downstairs to give them food. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Organizing closets, don't leave that out.
Yes, organizing closets, because like Christiana said, I cannot stand mess, and I'm very OCD. So I like to walk into a closet and it literally be color coded. So I organized his closets from white to yellow to blues to greens to black, and it took me a lot of time. So we've just been pretty much doing projects every day. And on Sundays, we have this prayer journal we've been working on. So every Sunday, we take a verse out of the Bible and write our journey using that verse. So it's just been a lot of work, but a lot of good quality time.
Sounds
I agree.
gracious, Violet.
And I'm on the opposite spectrum of all of you. Now, I'm going to backtrack all the way back to the training camps. I was with Lennox for his last 3 fights. That's 𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗡𝗗, Tyson, and Klitschko. Now, his training regimen is very consistent. First and foremost, there are no partners at camp. So everybody is gone for however long camp is. If camp is 4 months, wives, everybody, they're left, children are left, and we communicate via phone calls and writing letters. Towards the last 2 weeks, there is no communication between he and I until I see him fight night. So I've gotten used to a regiment of once training camp is on, there is no Lennox Lewis at all in as a part of life. Now he compartmentalizes everything he's ever done in his life. So including marriage and children. So he was very strategic when he retired. I was already a few months pregnant. So he knew he was not coming back. And that started for him, the next phase. So for me, I feel we've been on quarantine for we're going to 15-year marriage in July. We've been on quarantine for 15 years because it's been he and I and the kids. As you know, Jill, whenever there are any appearances, we were flying out of Jamaica because moved. He took us, placed us in a house on a hill, and it was one kid after the other. And that was life. It was, okay, B, I have a commentating gig to do. I'll see you on the weekend and I'll be back. So for us, he's been at home. So this now has created for me, we're displaced because we were on March break. We sent the kids to my mother for March break. So we're in Florida and then we came to visit and we just stayed. So not gone back to any of our homes. So since it's been nice to see everybody together. The only complications we're having now is the kids, they attend school in Canada. We're in Florida, but their virtual classes are progressing seamlessly. So for us, it's been good, except now Lennox is all the time. He's become the grill master. That's his thing. So I think I've gained a few pounds because of his cooking, but otherwise we have really doing exactly as you said, Telly, praying, really coming together and trying to see how do we impact those around us positively. But that's been our experience. Looking forward to getting home though. But until then, we're hanging tight.
Great. And Shayna?
So I'm definitely counting my blessings. I think Dan and I are both lucky enough to still be working full time from home. It presents its own challenges, of course, because I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. And we also decided to make an impulse quarantine purchase of a new puppy. So we also, so we now have a 16-year-old son named Olaf.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, Olaf. I have a Madeline and a Brea, but Madeline likes to say that they're Elsa and Anna. So now we have an Elsa, Anna, and Olaf in the house. So very busy, but I'm definitely, when I went back to work in January, I had wished that I had taken the 18-month maternity leave. So I was back at work for a couple of months and now I'm working from home full pay and I'm home with my babies. So I think I'm very lucky to get to spend this extra time with them at such a young age. My oldest is in junior kindergarten, so a little bit of homeschooling, and I try to keep her days as consistent as possible. So a little bit of TV time, extra TV time, I should say. About an hour of homework in the morning, and then we do some yoga, or we take the dog for a big long walk. We'll do a workout in the living room, and then kind of an hour of homework in the afternoon. And we just try to make it work.
Explain to the young child what they should be doing.
Sorry, Jill, you cut out a little bit.
said it's so hard to explain to a young child why they can't be out doing what they normally would be doing. It's
Well,
very frustrating at times.
and I think the hardest thing for me is watching, you know, my daughter has days where she gets very emotional. She's a very social girl, so she loves school, she loves her friends, she loves to see her grandparents. So, you know, trying to explain to her, you know, and we were supposed to go to Walt Disney World in 2 weeks ago, so we had to cancel that. And you know, she just said, "Oh, this virus doesn't want us to have any fun, Mom."
Oh,
I know.
So it's sad. It's sad to watch their little emotions. And you know, and then I have friends who have children that are in high school and their graduations are being canceled and proms and these big milestones, and it breaks my heart for the kids. It really does.
Written this horrible movie.
I would like to add something, because we always talk about the adults or kids, teenagers. My whole admiration for them.
Yeah.
When when friends and going out is all they care about, they're in the house, obeying, standing still, spending time with parents, trying to do their best, not asking. My whole admiration for them. I have 3 of them, and I haven't had an argument about not going out or whatever. And I know they're sad. They feel lonely, they feel sad, but they're still there, hanging on.
That brings me to my next thing. I mean, the BBC actually has done a video about this. With all of the sequestering, there's been an incredible rise in abuse, arguments, the way people are dealing with each other, because it's just going on too long and putting people who are very frustrated, even in a beautiful house, causes tension and arguments. How do you guys deal with that? I mean, how do you dispel it? What tricks or what do you do when somebody just gets in that kind of mood?
Me personally, I just let go and let God. I leave Beyonce by himself. And I just, pray about it. I just feel like when you get to a point of disagreeing to disagree, you kind of just got to let it breathe out. And you're in the house, you're stuck together. So there's nothing you can do but to get over it eventually. So I just feel like once time passes, eventually he'll be like, okay, babe, I'm sorry. Or I'll be like, okay, babe, we don't need to fight anymore. You're in the house and you kind of can't really get away from each other at this time. So you're forced to deal with disagreements. And even with the kids, like my son, he just turned 14 April 20th. So, he can't go to his 8th grade promotion, and we're not in our LA house, which is where he and I usually are. And it's hard for him to cope. So we invited all the kids to do a little pool party and brought him a little cake. So he enjoyed his birthday inside. And we actually tried to get him to blow the candles out with a mask on. And it was just hilarious. So he had a good time.
Inventive. You get it?
I'll go ahead, Jill.
Go ahead.
I really joked when I made light of the situation in terms of that Lennox and I have been in quarantine for 15 years. And I'll tell you how we've dealt with it. So when I said we were on a hill, we really were on a hill, and it was just us. His mom was in Canada. My parents are in Florida. So we were on this island creating our family by ourselves. So we really had to dig deep, because Telly's right. There are those moments when you've just had enough of each other. And over the years, what I say that's really, really helped us, we worked very hard on communicating. That is so easy to say, but it really is a tangible, empirical thing that people really have to work on. And it is also knowing when to observe that somebody's at their threshold and you just got to back off and let them calm down and then come back to communicate. Communicating is not just verbal, it's also observing, seeing, it's not mindful to communicate. We must know how to let go. Make sure during this time, people in general should be focusing on, how do I improve my communication? Because that is ultimately the thing that's going to get us through the quarantine and the next 20, 30 years of our lives is our communication skills. So what we've been doing as a family now, we used to have family meetings with the kids, but now we're doing them more consistently, where we're having them weekly. And we're following Robert's rules of meeting laws too. So that they need to understand when it's time to speak, what you have to say, hold your hand up, following through the protocols. But I'm finding that that's helping for everybody to articulate how they're feeling before it gets to that place where they can't handle it anymore. So that's how we've been working.
Journaling or writing with them, writing out your feelings, things like that.
Yes, but their school, they start at 8:25 in the morning. And if I could pan this around, I would show you. And they're in their same position until 3:30.
Wow.
The most intriguing thing I've seen with the three, I have a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And they're in their designated work area from 8:25 until 3, and they have their breaks, their lunch, they're following their same school schedule. So that's been helpful for us. So once they get off, it's now time for us to communicate. How was your day? So we're finding that that's helping us. So we're not journaling as much, but I know that's helpful. But because we're in such proximity, I've been forcing them to really communicate and improve their vocabulary. So I always have an ulterior motive in the back of my head, certain things, and we'll keep that.
A lot of good things for families might come out of this, but
yeah.
But Shayna, I had a question and I got lost in what Chris said.
The teenagers, she's right. They love to go out.
Teenagers, we were talking about, Shayna, you work with your husband and now you're sequestered. And Chris, you do some work with your husband and now you're sequestered with him. What have you learned about each other during this period of time in terms of your work relationship together? Is it easier? Is it harder? Does it make a difference at all?
I think for Dan and I, it doesn't, because we're both, he works from home a lot. So aside from his boxing promotion, he has another business, which was his first venture that he went on out of university. And he's always worked from home. So
okay.
I've also had jobs in the past where I worked from home. So I think that we're just used to being in the same house all the time together. We even kind of had made comments to each other through the quarantine saying, you know, like nothing's really changed for us. Like on our weekends, like we're together. Like we always have, like, we've been together since I was 15 years old. So I feel like we've just always been together.
Now that's another topic, Jill.
That's together. And Chris, have you found anything to change in terms of cares and Mauricio with the work he does with the WBC? Have you been able to communicate differently, or do you get under each other's feet at any time, or is it just the way it always is?
I mean, Mauricio has always something to do. He's always planning on doing something. So he has, at the house now, we all have our own getaway spot.
That's great.
He's at one room, in one room, I'm in another room. The kids are in another. I mean, we have our getaway spots. And working with Mauricio has been a little bit difficult because he wants things to be done his way, and I want things on my way. You know, that's very. So as long as he get involved into WBC Cares as much as he wants to, everything's fine. So everything has been the same way as always. He's down here working, I'm up there doing my things, and when we have something to argue about the WBC Cares or anything, I just come down, I ask him, take note, go. That's it.
How important?
I think for me, sorry, Jill, I think for me, the biggest challenge is with the kids being home, because they don't understand when daddy's on the phone, he's working. So it's really difficult to kind of explain that to them. And I always try to, like, we have a home office, and I always say to him, like, just go down to your home office, but he loves being kind of in the room with everybody. So I think that's the challenge for us.
Have a structure for the children, and it's good to have some place that you can call your own, whether it's air in the yard or an office, that it helps break the tension of always being in each other's face. And is there anything that I'm going to say to you, Violet, that you've learned about yourself during this period of time that you think is invaluable or wonderful?
Yes, actually, there's so many, but I'm going to pull upon the fact that I really appreciate being by myself. And when I say myself, it's not the physicality of people around, but having that moment to be with it, with my own thoughts. I used to take that for granted as an only child, where I would always go off by myself and have my moment. But what I realize now with everybody around, I don't have that moment, those moments as often as I'd like to, because I have an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And there's something that's always going on that requires your immediate attention. So what I'm finding now is, for my mental health, I need my alone time, not just to read, it is just to process in my space, my mind, my thoughts. And I realize that's invaluable for me. If not, then mommy's not so smiley all the time.
You get that now? Can you carve that space out for yourself?
Yes, we have been. The migraines helped me to figure, that's what the migraine helped me to figure out, that I needed to carve the time out. And that I could not just run myself ragged from morning to night, because being in a particular type of quarantine, I felt as if there was no end to the day. No matter what time I tried to go to bed, there was always something that was going on. Email, there's something. Whereas before quarantine, it was easier to compartmentalize and say, I'm home right now, I don't have to look at that. But somewhere along the line, my mental space shifted, where I felt I needed to respond to everything right away, because now I'm home, I'm here.
And
So I need.
There's a impetus of the crisis also. Everybody wants an answer now.
Now, yes. So for me, it's invaluable. I need that alone time to no phone.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I was finished, but I'm buffering, so I'm not sure if you're hearing her.
Telly, what about you? Have you learned something special about yourself during this time?
I definitely agree with Violet. We have, like I said, 8 children, so there's not really enough alone time. And if you're not with the children, you're with the spouse, and if you're not with the spouse, you're cooking, and the children are trying to help you cook. So it's hard for us to really get alone time. Even now, when we sleep, our daughter sleeps, she climbs out of her crib, so we have to have her sleep in the bed with us now. So we don't really have that alone time like we're used to having. And it's hard to kind of get, because we have so much going on in our household, with the kids ranging from 15, the 15-year-old, she had surgery on her legs. So right now she's trying to get her feeling back in her foot. So she's been on bed rest. The 14-year-old just turned 14. The 9-year-old wants to be in the kitchen all the time. And, the 2-year-old's running around. So it's a lot of work. And if you don't take the time out, that's why I'm so glad we have Sunday prayer days and journaling, and just take the time out to really jot those things that you have on your mind, or you have to just vent and let it out. Sunday's the day. So I'm like so ready for Sundays to happen every day of the week. I'm like, all right, is it Sunday yet? Is it Sunday yet? So that's kind of like my 𝗧𝗧 moment, is the Sunday prayer moments, which I just love, because it really brings us together as a family, whether someone's mad or someone's working on a project or someone feels lonely. It just puts out our feelings, and it's just relaxing to me to just sit and really just write, and everyone understand where you're coming from.
Shayna?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you learned something from this period of time?
Well, I definitely realized how much I hate working out at home.
I love it. I love it because no one watches you.
I am missing my 6 a.m. gym routine like so much, because it's such a big part of my mental health, and it gets my day going, and it's kind of my alone time, my quiet time. And also, my job that I so often complained about. What I would give to have that alone time in my car again. Because I'm in sales, so I drive all day. So I am missing that alone time for sure.
Yes.
But on the other hand, I've enjoyed slowing down because we are both very busy people all the time. I've really learned to appreciate the quiet and the slow.
And before we get to the wonderful relations that you all have, I wanted to ask you, particularly, how important are your women friends to you? You're shaking your head.
Because we miss them.
So my introduction to Zoom calls has been with girlfriends. My birthday was April 15th. So that was
happy
the
birthday.
Thank you. Lennox arranged a Zoom call and all were there and we
It's the
the
picture.
soul. My friendships, this table, it feeds the soul. So whilst we're not in person to give each other those hugs, this FaceTime of seeing each other, it's helpful. So for me, they're a godsend.
Telly?
It's been difficult because I'm so used to being sociable and being around people, and now it's just around family. I adore the family time, but the texts and the FaceTime to the friends kind of get a little less minimal because we're just so busy doing these home projects that there's no time, and there's so many kids, there's no time to really like interact with the friends besides a text here and there. As you can see, the kids are coming out the door trying to see what I got going on over here. So they're peeking out there.
You've been gone for too long, Mom.
Exactly. I'm like, what's going on? So go tell Karan to take it. Go with Karan.
You have a KK
Karan,
out here.
Karan. See, and then they don't want to do anything. So this is the reality of things. They want mom to do everything while they get to chill and be on their games all day. And when they're done with their work, they think they could just hang out all day. So
Interrupt everything you're doing. That's how I find it.
Yeah, every time I do something, whether it's get on the computer, whether it's text someone, they're like, okay, well, what about us? Like, there's a panic if I'm gone for a minute. And Deontay, as you guys can hear, is shooting his gun in the range. So it's just, it's literally like, okay, wait, where do I go?
And I thought my house was chaotic.
Oh my gosh. It's literally nonstop, guys. Nonstop.
So, Chris, your women friends, do you get to spend any time with them by Zoom or FaceTime? Do you miss them? What's going on there in Mexico?
Sometimes I do, but I think that makes me feel more emotional and miss them even more.
I know you have a very close women's group.
I do. I miss you, boss, very much. I miss my sister, my mom, my grandmom. I miss all of my friends, my women friends, I mean. And one thing I have valued the most is the time that I used to spend with them. And I will try, after this is over, I will go back, and I think I will try to be there when I'm at somewhere. Because sometimes we are with people, or we are somewhere we don't really want to be, and we're thinking about being somewhere else. And one thing I have learned from this quarantine is that if you are going somewhere, give them your time and spend quality time.
Nice.
Yes.
That's all. And next time I see my friend, I think it's going to be a long, long afternoon with many glasses of wine and talk about everything, because
I think I'm like booked up on dinner dates with my girlfriends for the next 3 months after quarantine. So I completely understand where you're coming from.
When will be? Shane, what about you? You get in contact still with your women friends?
Absolutely. I truly believe that our friends are our true soulmates. Our husbands are there, they're great, but our girlfriends are our soulmates. And I have I don't have kind of a group of girlfriends. I have a few very good girlfriends from different groups. But we all keep in touch, like daily. And I would say, if not daily, it's even just a text. Hey, how's it going today? How's it going with the kids? You know, let's get on house party act tonight and have a glass of wine. We've just the other day, it was a beautiful day out. So I took a drive down to my best friend's house and we stood 6 feet apart and I just talked to her from the curb. And it was just nice to kind of be that close and have that face-to-face communication. But it's tough. It is tough. I think it does make you miss them more, but it does make you appreciate who you have in your life. And sometimes life gets so busy and you don't make enough time for each other. And I think that's something that I've taken for granted. And I definitely will make more of an effort to spend more quality time with my girlfriends, with my parents, with my in-laws, with my grandmother. You know, I think it's really made me see what's really important.
So before I go on to the main thing, which is going to be asking you about your organizations, I have just one more question. Now that we're going off, this is all universal in terms of women who are watching this. Everyone is feeling some of this. But now I want to talk to you about the good, bad, and the ugly, which is social media, and sometimes necessary. How do you feel about social media? When you see something that's written about you that's unfair or unkind, what is social, and sometimes it promotes a wonderful thing. What do you think about the place of social media in our sports, in our lives?
I feel like social media, I do a lot of work on social media. So for me, it's either really good or it's really bad and it's really negative. So you kind of just have to tune out the negative and focus on the positive aspects of things and just promote positivity, because once you lure into that negative aspect, it sucks you dry. And I've seen a lot of people have like mental breakdowns because of social media. And I stress this so much that you just have to focus on the positive and keep pushing that out, because it's so hard to deal with some of the things, the negative things that people say all the time. I just feel like social media in correlation to boxing is undefeated. So you cannot beat those people. You just have to consistently stay positive.
Like a gun going off.
That's Deontay and Jay. So Deontay has this like crazy obsession. When I first met him, I saw a guitar case and I was like, oh, you play the guitar? And he's like, yeah, open it up. So I open it up and it's like a case full of guns. And I'm like, oh, okay. And now he's just like really into shooting targets. And I got him a crossbow and a spear gun. So no matter what kind of gun it is, whether it's on land or in sea, he's using it. So he's just has this really big obsession with guns, and he's like shooting on the range with Jay. He has Jay into shooting guns now. So all I hear is like gun everywhere, like gunshots everywhere. And it's crazy.
Well, my husband was from Oklahoma. So on our farm, he did a lot of target shooting. I totally get it. So let's get to what's really beautiful and special about what we do. So,
but Jill, can I interrupt for a second to answer the question that you posed?
2 seconds.
That's Violet. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I will leave everyone with this quote that I use for social media is, I will not go down your rabbit hole with you. Because how I view social media is, as long as we know what it is, our intent and what we're trying to do, we must never be obligated to go down any rabbit hole with anyone, because quite frankly, you are not in my life. And my mental health is more important than somebody I really don't know who just wants to be mean or just put out a facade of somebody that is just trying to hurt others. So my thing is, it's like an argument. I feel like arguing with you, you will never get me to argue with you. So that's how I deal with social media. You could say the most vile thing about me, but you know, when I look at it is, well, if I die tomorrow, will you be at my funeral? No. So what you have to say to me is irrelevant. So that's how I deal with it. I don't go down the rabbit holes.
I totally agree. When I first started in boxing, someone got me on a fight on Facebook over a rule I changed in boxing. They argued with me for 3 days, after which I said, I'm not doing this anymore. They called me up and said, now, wasn't that fun? It was like, no, it wasn't fun. It was, and I never argued with somebody on social media again. I mean, some people really enjoy it. They,
Yes.
you know, like twisting it. They just do.
Yes.
No matter how much good you could push out there, they'll still find something bad or negative to say just because.
Right.
And it's unfortunate and sad.
So I told my kids, and to some of my friends will, you know, consider this crass, but I'll say it. I say, listen, if you're a Christian, Jesus was crucified and he was pushing the most positive message ever. So if humans can do that to someone who was changing water into wine, you know, giving healing leprosy, what will they do with our positivity? So we just have to maintain our individualism and be insular with our positivity and give it out, and don't expect anything from anybody else, and don't follow in their footsteps in terms of negativity. So Telly, you are doing an amazing job of staying positive, because I do see that you are on media and you do a good job, because some of those folks are out of control with their comments.
They're pretty ruthless, and you just initially it took a while to not entertain it, because you kind of just want to put your piece out there and you know, have a voice, but you just it never goes away. It never goes away. It's nonstop, whether we're at the top of our game or whether we're, you know, where we're at now and recovering from everything. It just never stops, ever.
No. So let's get to the good stuff.
Good
So,
stuff.
Chris, here I'm going to start with World Boxing Cares, which is our organization. We started it in 2006 with Gennaro Hernandez, God rest his soul, and Eric Morales at Children's Hospital. At a time, they did not want boxers in hospitals.
I know.
Since then, we've done thousands and thousands of events. We had to figure out how to do it, because our money basically goes to out-of-work boxers. So basically, CARES is a liaison organization, and it's a service organization. Jose's whole feeling was to be in service of other people. So we send our athletes, and you came with us, to hospitals. We have our people. But basically that it is. We have compassionate volunteers all over the world, and we continue to do it on this way. So Chris, tell us what we're doing now in Mexico and what your feelings are about CARES.
Well, what WBC Cares is doing in Mexico is trying to let people know to stay positive and hope for tomorrow. As bad as this is, it will pass. So at some point, we will have our lives back better, I hope, not as the way we used to live. And living in the same house, everyone being in the same house at the same time can be very depressive for people. And we are trying to let people know that domestic violence is not acceptable. So that you must report in the way you can. It is not acceptable in any way. And that's what the video is about. We have the English version and the Spanish version of the video to let people know that, I mean, it's not right to have the violence at home. And then there is also this program, which is the WBC workout, that you can make your whatever you want to do at home, and then tape it and upload it to the websites. And that is helping a lot. People are very into that. Most of I mean, there are a lot of subscriptions and people trying to share their workouts. So I think it's helping in a way. I mean, we cannot go out there and make any visits, but this is at least something.
Yeah, the video that you did was quite beautiful. I'm sorry we can't show it now, but we'll send it to each of you.
Okay, well.
And in fact, I believe Deontay, he participated in it. So League of Champions, please tell us all about the League of Champions. And you're primarily in Canada, where Shayna is.
Actually, we are a 501c3 out of the US. It's called the Lennox Lewis League of Champions Foundation. And our aim is we use boxing to inspire the next generation of champions in the ring of life. So we put on boxing camps for the most vulnerable. You mentioned service. So we're serving some of the most vulnerable in our communities around the world. So we've had our programs in Jamaica as well as in Canada. And we were slated for Atlanta and Chicago, but with everything happening for now, we've just taken a step back. But what we have found is that our group, the children we target are between the ages of 9 to 17, mostly males, children who are from volatile communities, lots of poverty, violence, and don't have the natural, some of the resources that we take for granted. So what we do is we go in and we put together these boxing programs coalesced with life skills. And Lennox and a team of boxers from all around the world, we put together this program that consists of boxers, teachers, psychologists, and social workers. And we stay with the children from day one all the way to now, 4 years later, and we continue to build on the programs. So you become, once you participate once, you're a lifelong member, and we reach in, we delve into your family, and then we start the programs from the inside out, because ultimately we want to change the family structure and the mindset of how these children deal with their situations and how do you become successful. So in a nutshell, we use all of the skill sets of boxing, coalesce it with life skills, and say, here is your blueprint for success in the ring of life. You want to be a doctor? You want to be a lawyer? You want to be a carpenter? We have the tool sets for you to do so. So what we've been finding is that children are resilient, and they, Telly, I'm going to take a step back. You were mentioning the gunshots, right? And it brought me to my camp where we had 112 kids. And during the summer, last summer, one of the kids got there at 8 a.m. And by 8:30, he got a phone call, and it was, your brother was just murdered on his way to work. So that's the part we deal with. So that kid was ready to go and handle his business the way he knows how to handle his business in his community, which was pick up that gun and go retaliate. We did exactly what you do on Sundays. We took everything that we knew about social work and behavior modification and put that to the side and got a group together of 112 kids, and we knelt down and prayed. That kid stayed with us for the entire week, and he's been with us every year since. It's only been a year, but he's been on the track of he's staying clean. So what we're all doing with all of our organizations are lives, and the coronavirus right now has really put a damper on the population that we work with, particularly in volatile communities in Jamaica. So now we're in the same boat as everybody. We're trying to figure out, how do we create our programs to really reach them, because they are so vulnerable. Masks are sometimes an issue.
Did we freeze?
It's only Violet.
I think just Violet.
Violet, you froze on us? Well, I'll just pick up one thing that Violet said, which is you cannot take a child and put them in any wonderful program and then return them back to the environment they came from with the tools. And I think Violet is saying they're giving them the tools to work with the families themselves as opposed to just the individual.
Yeah, I think that's amazing what Violet is doing. Me and Deontay always talk about the way children or people grow up to be always starts in the household, and how you're raised is usually what you become, whether you get taught how to do something from your father or mother and take that with you and turn it into positive or negative is up to that person, but it always goes back down to how they were raised. So I think that is wonderful what Violet is doing.
And what's so wrong with our juvenile justice system is we take these children and then send them back to the environment they came from, expecting them to do better. You really need that follow-up. So we've lost Violet for the moment. I'm sure she'll be back. Telly, tell us about your organization.
The Boxing WAGs Association started when I went to a WAGs Academy, and they had an association for the women of the NFL. And the women of the NBA. And at the time, it was me and 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞𝗦 that was in attendance. And I was like, there's no support system for the women of boxing. So that's what kind of got me to create an association for the women of boxing to be able to help our surrounding communities. And so far, our first annual event was towards breast cancer. And then for Deontay's fight, I've focused on spina bifida, being that our eldest daughter has spina bifida. And we were supposed to have a food and wine festival in Beverly Hills, an event there, but I don't know with this coronavirus. So we take what we have as women and try to push that out into our community by helping. Right now for the COVID-19, we've created masks that's CDC approved that has a filter system in it. So you can put a filter in the mask if it's too thin, or you could wear it over your N95 mask and it's reusable, so you could wash it. I ordered, everything is coming out of my own pocket as far as right now. So I've ordered over 1,000 reusable masks and bought gloves, nitrile gloves, as well as latex powder-free gloves. And we worked with RX Water to help donate to surrounding areas. We've donated to Tallahassee. We've donated to police stations. We've donated to churches. We've donated to grocery stores. We try to make sure we targeted all the frontline workers, not just hospitals. So we try to just make sure we don't just segregate one group of people and just make sure everyone's taken care of as much as possible. So right now we've sold out on masks, but I'm definitely getting some more. We tried to do a BOGO sale where you buy one and we donate one, and then I donated 1,000 masks as well too. So we're just trying to get masks out there so everyone could protect themselves from other people.
It's great. I mean, it's so timely. And I know there'll be more things to do in the future, but that couldn't be more timely. Violet, was there anything else that you wanted to say? We kind of picked it up for you at the end. Now we don't hear you. You have to turn your speaker on. Hit the.
There it is. There it is. We have to keep changing devices around here. No, I really wanted to just end with we all need to just collaborate and try to figure out in this new way of living with social distancing, how do we continue our programming, particularly for some of the most needy in our programs who need the mental strength to get through this. So that's the help I'm looking for, is to brainstorm and to figure out how do we do this.
Well, I don't know if this would work for you, but what I've done in New York, I've gone to I work with the 𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗡𝗗 of Harlem for young men. And, you know, they're all getting their lessons online. So I've spoken to the principal, right, and we're going to put together some evening programs, cooking or music or whatever, because there's nothing for these kids to do at night.
Nothing.
Up, send messages over the internet. So you can maybe want to attach some of your, talk to some of the people in the school systems to see if you can kind of integrate some of your program into what the kids are getting in there. There's Chris.
So, right. So our main programming occurs in Jamaica. So what we take for granted here is always everybody having, or majority of folks having access to Wi-Fi is something that is greatly challenging for our populace. However, we do have, we have the Lennox Lewis League of Champions gym. There's a boxing gym attached to it, the Hopewell Community Center in Jamaica. So that's the first of its kind, where we have a homework center plus boxing. And they do have Wi-Fi there, but with the social distancing, it's become a challenge. So I will look into that. Thank you for that suggestion, to see how do we service this populace that typically would have issues with internet.
Shayna, what have you been up to? I know you're busy.
So since we did our first show back in 2016, Dan and I had always wanted to use our platform to give back to the community in some way. So with every boxing event that we put on, we choose a local charity that we're going to raise funds for. So we focus usually on organizations that impact the youth of the community for the most part. So the first one being, we did Camp Trillium, which is a camp for cancer patients, children recovering from cancer. We've done Hamilton Food Share, City Kids. These are Big Brother, Big Sister. Actually, one of our boxers, Jesse Wilcox, who actually, he was supposed to be fighting for a WBC belt at the end of June, but it's looking like we're going to have to push our show out. So unfortunate. However, we did some fundraising with Big Brother, Big Sister, and afterwards he ended up signing up to become a Big Brother. So we've had a few cases where our boxers have actually, from what we've done, they've gone above and beyond and added to that. So that's been really great. And I have to say, a few of the boxers that we do have with Three Lions are very focused on their community efforts and helping out the youth. Our boxing gym, Steeltown Boxing, as we own it with the Wilcox family, which is a big boxing family in Canada. We like to call them boxing royalty. Everybody kind of knows who they are. It's 5 brothers. They're all boxers. The 4 eldest are pro, and the youngest is right now training to go to the Olympics, hopefully. But they are just incredible people as far as giving back to the community. They run really great youth programs at the gym. So these are just some of the things that we do aside from raising funds for organizations. And since I've joined WBC Cares, I've had a few initiatives. So I raised funds back in November at our event for a local organization. Our event that we just hosted in Cape Breton, we were able to raise $5,000 for Thunder Boxing Gym for their kids program. At Christmas time, I did a toy drive for WBC Cares. So everything that we collected went to City Kids. So City Kids is an organization that distributes to, I think, over 3,000 children in the city who are less fortunate. So they provide them with food, education on healthy nutrition, after school programs, camps, and birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, and all those types of things. And then for COVID, I've been trying to think of something different to do. And I know I'm a regular blood donor, and so is Dan. So we decided that we're going to do a blood donation campaign. So anyone associated with Three Lions, we're all going to go individually and donate blood on behalf of WBC Cares and Three Lions.
It's beautiful.
That's lovely.
So it's amazing that you've all used your platform to do so many wonderful things for so many people. It's a step. Is there anything anyone would like to say to wrap up? And we will also display your foundation's logo and URLs on our newsletter tonight and get them out to the public if anybody wants to help, because we all work together. It's not WBC Cares, it's not, Wives, it's not, League of Champions. We are all doing one thing, which is trying to the degree we can to build a better world, focused mostly on the most vulnerable people there are, with children. So, group. So anybody have anything to say to sum up anything before we go up?
I just want to add that we all have our own battles. There's always someone in more need than we are, and we have to be grateful every day and try to help in the way we can. If people sell food, for example, buy from them. I mean, in this the quarantine, or send food if that's what they need, or whatever we can do for them, because we can't imagine the battles some people are struggling with.
Well said.
Grateful every morning has changed the way I'm living through the quarantine every day.
there's a lot of people are going to have things to give. It's going to be a society that's struggling. So what can we encourage people to give, to do for others when they themselves are suffering so much?
I think for me, even if I'm struggling, I find giving just makes me feel really good.
Yes.
Agree. I definitely agree. I feel like we all have a platform to be able to do something for other people, and why not? When we're able to, other people are not as fortunate as us, and don't have the position that we have. And I just feel like we should continue to push positivity.
Yeah, absolutely. There's too much negative and bad in the world right now, and
Right.
even if you're a small voice in your area, it makes a difference to someone. So
right. Sometimes I also listening to someone who's lonely, having the time to have a phone call or whatever, that can make a difference.
Yes. It's very important that we don't forget our humanity in all of this, that we're all in a situation where, some people need more and we are helping as best as we can. But the one thing that we have that doesn't cost anything is just being kind to each other. It sounds really so cliche, but kindness goes a long way for not only the individual's mental health that is receiving the kindness, to also the person who's giving the kindness. It exponentially grows from kindness to positivity. So if we were to focus on that, it's a natural progression to the next step of, this is what I have to share with you. I may have some rice, but it starts with kindness before we actually get to that place of, I'm going to give you something. So I think if we could all remember to just be kind to each other, particularly during this time, not to take everything everyone says so internally and combust and be always angry, because it's easy to do so now because there's so many needs. So this is the time to be insular in terms of being quiet and project outwards the positivity, as Telly says, and kindness.
Right.
Well, I can't tell you how much of a pleasure it's been to be with you women, even through a Zoom screen. You're so inspirational, but more than that, you're all so authentic. It's really, really such a pleasure. So when we close these broadcasts, we always say, stay home, stay safe. Maybe we can say it together. 1, 2, 3. Stay home
and stay
safe.
Bye, ladies.
The virtual hug.
In the
Virtual hug.
Bye-bye.
I wanted to say thank you, Jill, for putting this together. It's such an enlightenment to just have a group of women that are doing positive things in our community. So I thank you and all the ladies that were on this for joining today as well too.
This has definitely been a highlight of my day. It's made my day. So thank you.
Hope to see
And I
Nice to meet
cannot wait
you.
to see what the kids did in the house when I go inside.
And
mine have been way too quiet, so I'm feeling that.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way they haven't.
Dog's even been pretty quiet, so I'm afraid he's either torn a hole through something or dug a crater in my backyard. We're putting a pool in this year, so my husband just keeps saying, oh, well, he's digging the hole for us.
Enjoy your day.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.